If you're trying to get your muscles bigger, stronger, or faster, then the last thing you want to do is have them confused. So muscle confusion is this idea that we can go into the gym and we can do different exercises every single time, wild motions, all kinds of new exercises, and that by constantly changing it up, somehow our muscles are going to gain size and they're going to gain strength, even though we're not necessarily following any of the good rules of strength training in terms of progressive overload and in terms of constant challenge. And point blank, it does not work. It is overrated, and I don't even think there's any science behind it either.
Yeah, if it looks really flashy, turn the other way, because 9 times out of 10, the benefit is not going to be there.
Exactly. The basics work best in the gym. Muscle confusion does not work, and it should not be the basis of your training. Let's go over the 3 reasons to skip over muscle confusion and a couple other approaches you can take to your training instead.
Here are the 3 biggest issues we have with muscle confusion. 1, it limits movement mastery. And this, we just already spoke about this, repetition, right? We need to do something more than once in order to learn it. You can't just go in and hinge and expect the next time to go back in the gym and have a proper hinge, right? There's a lot that goes into it for us to load the maximal weight in that position, and it all starts with the foundation or the fundamentals of the movement, right? Moving from A to B in an efficient pattern versus all over the place, going in randomly, just picking up, putting it back down.
And reps upon reps upon reps is the key thing to really think about here. So if you're constantly changing up your workout and doing all these newfangled movements, then all of a sudden you're not hitting the basics. You're not bench pressing, you're not rowing, you're not doing your deadlifts, or you're doing that like once a month. And if you are doing an exercise once a month, you only do it 12 times a year. That is not enough to really help you get better. It's also not enough to get you out of our second trap of muscle confusion, which is that it limits progressive overload. So muscles do not get confused at all. What muscles do is they adapt, and they adapt to increased challenge. One of the simplest ways to use that when we're chasing muscle and strength is something called progressive overload. We want to eventually load our exercises with more weight and push to go heavier on those exercises. To do that, we've got to have that mastery of the movement, and to do that, we've got to be repeating the exercise. Or I want to see you benching 1 or 2 times a week. That way this week we can be benching 135, maybe next week we're also benching 135, but then we can push it a little bit, add 5 or 10 pounds onto that load because we understand the movement well enough.
And that leads right into our third problem, and it's crisis fitness ADD, or this complete, I have no idea what I'm doing when I walk in the gym idea. You don't know how to move properly. We can't get any progress because we're not increasing the load over time. The repetition and the sets may just be random. We're going in, we know we have to just do 10 reps, lift the weight, and then move on. So it's not actually putting us into this foundation of knowing, all right, today this is the plan, this is how many sets of reps we're gonna do, and it's not gonna build a pathway to go towards your goals. It's almost gonna veer the opposite way.
Exactly. Muscle confusion, when we think about that as our main principle in the gym, it makes us think that we need to change up our workouts constantly. We're on Instagram looking for the newest exercise. We're reading the magazines looking for the oddest exercise, and we're trying to confuse our muscles. We're not going to get anything done that way. You want to think about keeping things simple. You want to think about repeating the basics and know that you don't need to get away from those basics and fundamentals. Here's how you can program those into your workout, not confuse your muscles, but actually make gains. So instead of trying to confuse your muscles and falling for the trap that group fitness and Instagram are gonna lead you down, we've got 3 other approaches for you that you can use to build simple workouts. And it really does come down to keeping things simple and building around the fundamentals. First off, we want to think about the idea of 3. Really simple idea. Whatever your goal is, I want you to choose 3 exercises. You're going to do those 3 exercises as your workout 3 times a week. You're going to keep it consistent for 1 or 2 months, and by doing that, you're going to be able to progress those 3 exercises. Whatever your goal is, whatever your lift is, whether we're trying to chase bigger biceps, whether we're trying to build a more powerful bench press, whether we're trying to get faster, by repeating those exercises, you're going to get better at them. You're going to start to master them, and you're going to be able to push harder as you do it. Try to go up in weight, you can try to go up in reps, and you can also try to improve your form on those 3 movements.
And that actually leads us right into our second point. Whenever you get your program, stick to it for 2 months. because this is going to put you in that repetitive cycle where you're learning your movements, you're going to be able to progressive overload, and over time, you're going to see results.
Exactly, and that may seem like a recipe for boredom, but it doesn't have to be a recipe for boredom either. You're not necessarily changing up the exercises, but you can change up your focus as you're doing the exercises. In both of those methods, you can concentrate on your glutes when you're bench pressing, concentrating on your shoulders when you're bench pressing. You can work to improve your form. By appreciating those little things, you're gonna reach your goals a lot better. If you are somebody who really needs that variation, if you can't stand the boredom of the repetition that is gonna get you to your goals and you wanna find a nice middle ground, here is that middle ground. We call it the 2 and 2 method. So you're gonna choose 2 foundational exercises and we're gonna keep those the same every single time you go into the gym. We're gonna assume you're training 3 days a week. You're gonna keep those staple lifts the same. Then on the back end, you can choose 2 of the wild, crazier exercises, still keep it a little bit foundational. So aim for exercises that you have seen in Men's Health magazine or you've seen legitimate trainers doing. So that means not the reverse lunge with the curl and the press and the back flip, skip that. But if you can mix up your workout on the back end that way, then we've got the best of both worlds. You're gonna get better at 2 exercises, you're gonna get the variability kicks you want with those other 2 exercises. So try those approaches. Your muscles will be less confused, but you will actually make the gains you want.